Hi, I'm Amy from Tussell, and I'm here with Harry Lucas-Strauss, founder and CEO at Open Medical, and William Cook, Deputy Commercial Director at Open Medical. Today, we are talking about the Tech200, the key trends, how Open Medical sustained their growth for 2 years in a row, and Harry and Will's predictions for the future of the public sector tech market. Let's get right into it.
My name is Harry Lucas-Strauss. I'm the founder of Open Medical, and I'm still practicing clinician, and I still maintain the role of the technical lead.
I'm William Cook. I am the Deputy Commercial Director at Open Medical. I'm also a clinician by background, as well as many other members of the team, but predominantly looking at our commercial activities.
So what is Open Medical and its product Pathpoint?
So Open Medical is the company that delivers the service of digital transformation, and Pathpoint is the digital product that is using to embed that transformation. Pathpoint is best described as a state machine, a workflow machine, and in most cases we utilize it as a traffic controller to optimize clinical and operation processes in a complex ecosystem like any health provider.
Obviously, we're talking to you today because you've placed on the Tech200 for the second year in a row. So I'd like to know what you think are the key factors that have led to your big growth and that you've been such consistent with your growth. What do you think has allowed you to do that?
I think for me, it's probably a few things. So we've got a solution that people like using, that they want to continue using, and that they will, very readily recommend to other places that they have this kind of useful tool. So I think there's been a lot of organic growth, certainly in the first couple of years of the company. But now on top of that, we have a much more, proactive, marketing and commercial effort to go alongside that. Couple that with being, as we said before, having a lot of clinicians in the team, having that credibility, having that, trustworthiness is so important in the public sector. It is really important, but also having a kind of a product that's very scalable makes it kind of very easy to, launch new hospitals, new implementations. Probably a combination of those factors.
I think in any enterprise, I think fundamentally you need to have the right product. You need to have you need to be solving an actual problem that the industry has, and then you need to do it cheaper than everybody else, do it better than everybody else, and you also need to be able. That is the hardest bit. You need to scale it faster than everybody else, and this is the hardest challenge for every enterprise. In many ways, I think we have, on one side is the product, but we have also changed the way we do business with the public sector. So, there was traditionally the software in enterprise is being sold as a product, and we changed that, and we're offering this as a service, and we put a lot of effort to customize the experience that the customer will have, and we make a lot of effort that we never allow the value that the service provider to degrade over time. And in many ways, we say to our customers, at any point they find a solution, because that it gives them better value than ours, we would have helped them to transition over to Streets. We would be absolutely happy for them and move to something that is better for them.
So for the Tech200 this year, we identified 3 top trends that all the companies shared based on procurement from last year, and cybersecurity was one of them, alongside digital transformation and a huge soar in Healthtech. So you guys are sort of all 3 of them. What do you think of these trends? Are you surprised by any of them?
I can take on the security because I'm not surprised by that. And I think as we move more towards cloud solutions and we leaving the self-hosted legacy environments behind in enterprises, certainly public sector, currently has it, correctly so, a drive to do that, I think has security by design becomes fundamental. So, and I hope that the public sector will start recognizing that as you move to different environments, they also move to selecting products and suppliers that they are native in these environments. They're building security for these environments. So having cybersecurity, cloud security will be one of the biggest challenges going forward for anyone who wants to move on to immune infrastructures. I think over the next 2 or 3 years will remain as a thing, and it will remain as one of the pillars, as you just mentioned.
I think the key thing with digital transformation is that, clearly it's something that everyone talks about. It's a priority for everyone. But I think the word transformation is the key thing there. So you can digitize, existing things sort of quite easily. But it's the transformation bit that's really important. So it's not just taking a legacy process and making it digital. It's using that as an opportunity to sort of improve and enhance the process, make it more efficient and optimize it. And that's the sort of the transformation bit. And then it's the change management and supporting the kind of the users in that journey. So, it's so much more than just going digital. It's everything else around that. So that's definitely a lot of what we're thinking about when we're doing our projects. It's the transformation piece.
What are the main risks and challenges for tech companies looking to work in the public sector, and specifically like in health tech or healthcare related services?
I think is scalability. I think the biggest challenge that tech companies in health tech, in fact, in every enterprise, but especially in health tech, that requires a level of flexibility and versatility in your service, in the product. And I think the challenge is how can you scale by while you still offering that versatility and that flexibility. And I think that in many ways ties back to the organic growth as well, interestingly, because if you do something very well and every time you go to market you lose £10, you cannot keep doing that, you cannot scale that. And I think that scalability is what the market wants to see. So I think in many ways, there is an advantage to have a sort of an early organic trajectory, so you can ensure that your scalability processes and functions are in place, so that you can give persistent value again and again, and then you can do it twice a year, 6 times a year, 10, 20, 50. And my feeling is that this is what will essentially determine both the success and the longevity of any business that deals with public sector enterprises.
To add to that, you've got to, biggest challenges, you've got to really align yourself with what the priorities are at, a national level, whether that's the desire for more kind of regional, especially to us where you're talking about healthcare and managing patients, regional models of care, interoperability and data sharing, those sort of, the big high level themes that people are kind of prioritizing, and we have to be aligned with those. That's certainly, what we're trying to think about in our day to day. And obviously being a tech company, security has to be, paramount. So you have to build that into everything you do with the design of the software, with your operations, really kind of prioritizing that, because you can't get it wrong. If you get it wrong, it will be, you won't really be forgiven, I don't think. So
something that we picked up on before with talking from Michael from Open Medical was the impact of Brexit, because 62% of all imported health tech use in the NHS is coming from the EU. This was in July 2018. So to the future, do you think there's like a gap in the market now for health tech companies to come through? How do you think it's going to affect tech companies in the public sector?
I think in big procurement, I think it will matter less. In bigger contracts, I think bigger contracts can be good internationally. So I don't think there will be as much a barrier. And I think overall technology does have a way to cross borders and easier than any other product. And enterprise technology, I think it can cross borders a lot easier. So I think the effect will not be as much as we would expect. And I think you can already see in big public sector contracts that they are being bid by companies from Europe or North America or Australia. I think that will not change as much.
How do you think artificial intelligence is going to affect health tech?
So I think currently it's going to say it's more aspirational than pragmatic. And in very conservative industries like health, I think it will have a role to play, but I don't think that is as close as we think. It will currently stay, I feel, in smaller sort of groups and smaller cohorts. He can have some function to narrow down most of the sort of triaging functions in clinical care. But I think before we can achieve diagnostic AI or more than that, I think it will be some years. And in high regulated industries like healthcare, and where there's also a population perspective, and it also based on population trust, I think these would be the main barriers for a faster adoption than we imagine. So I absolutely believe in artificial intelligence as a way going forward and as a way to automate many things. But I also believe that currently there will be a lag of implementation of AI in the sort of health tech industry.
I think it'll be a challenge. I think the roles, it'll probably act more in a sort of supporting manner initially. It's going to augment or support a clinician's decision rather than replace it. But there's certainly going to be a bigger role for it, and particularly with like big data and aggregated data on on a sort of regional on national levels. The roles of sort of AI to be able to kind of start to interpret that data will be probably where it'll be used.
How do you think the COVID-19 pandemic affected your growth, and like your product is health related, so did it have a big effect on that?
I think certainly initially there's been this huge influx of interest, investment, attention on the kind of technology, digital world in healthcare. So from that point of view, it's been massively beneficial. Everyone now knows that digital is an area that needs to kind of be improved like rapidly. And certainly initially, a lot of the barriers were kind of removed. There was, people needed solutions to problems like instantly. So I think initially definitely very positive. As time has gone on, probably as a result of hospitals have been probably bombarded by lots of different companies' solutions. Things have tightened up a little bit, and the result is that it's maybe taking a little bit longer now to get sort of projects over the line, that kind of thing. But overall, I think it's been certainly positive from a digital point of view.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think it definitely. I mean, the usual commercial cycle is long, there's a high latency. And I think what the pandemic did in many ways, it definitely brought that latency down. So things were decided faster. But there was an equal need to offer and implement the service faster. So I think that in some ways it probably helped on the commercial timelines, but it has definitely been trying into our operational timelines, because we had a lot less time to do digital transformation than. And remember also, to be transparent, I think one of the things that is happening in the tech industry, not only in health tech, is a lot of times companies over-exaggerate and overplay their hand. And the reality is that if you go out and you try to embed digital transformation, if you go and you start helping big organizations to redesign their clinical practices, you need to do it multiple times.
So we tend to go in and effectively ask them what are their challenges, what are they struggling with, and then kind of, offer them some of the ways that we can potentially help them. And that approach, works quite well. And because we know what the challenges are, we've worked with so many different organisations across the NHS and the public sector now. There's a lot of learnings and best practice that we can take from, partners and organisations that we've worked with, and we can effectively share them around the NHS. So that sharing and that sharing of best practice and that sort of distributing learning is another kind of great channel of gaining new business really as well. It's something that people are kind of very open to, I think.
Next year, if we have this conversation again, what do you think would be the key trends of the Tech 200, if you had to make a prediction? My
prediction would be we will move to more regionalised models of care in healthcare. I think what is becoming more and more obvious is that fragmented approaches to care and siloed approaches to care are not serving the population. And I think as there is an ever-increasing need for their health consumers, that they just want more health, and the pandemic and the current stresses of nationalized health system like the NHS, I think they will inevitably push us towards regionalizing care and no more than it has been so far. So I think the regional models of care will be, and defragmentation of care will be the major thing next year.
I mean, again, talking specifically about, I guess, healthcare, it's data, how data is used, how it's shared between organisations, and sort of the quality of that data is hugely important. And I guess linked to that, the interoperability of systems, have to be able to talk to each other in a meaningful way. So there's a lot, we really try and promote that. And I think there's still a huge amount of work to be done there with the number of sort of legacy systems that are still used. That interoperability piece needs a lot of work. So I think that will be a key thing.
How do you think the new Procurement Bill will affect tech suppliers in the public sector?
Hopefully it will make things, better and easier. If it standardises some of the ways that things can be procured, then that's hopefully going to be a benefit.
So we have had a soft digital marketplace in Healthtech for a few years. I think all procurement really exercises they will be limited. I think eventually it will come down to the buyer and what the buyer perceives as is the value they're getting. I think anything that reduces barrier in the procurement process is, I think, is a good thing, and I think it will eventually have. I think in many cases the cost of procurement is too high in the public sector, so I think reducing the cost of procurement will certainly help both the buyers and the suppliers. I think is the implementation. So you can have a tech company that they have a product. But before they can actually bring that product to a healthcare market, they need to have implemented it a few times, and they need to have measured its safety and its efficacy. So I think it will allow for that to happen a lot faster. Because just having a product is in health tech is not enough.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me interview you. And once again, well done to Open Medical for reaching the Tech 200 for the second year in a row.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
To find out more about the Tech 200, visit tussell.com/Tech200 or visit our LinkedIn page. Stay tuned to get more insights from the Tech 200 and find out what you can learn from this year's Tech 200 companies.